Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into an incredibly dark, totally fascinating piece of literature, The Iron Fortress and the Parables of Negation. If you're a literature student or just someone who loves a deeply complex, grim, dark character study, you're in for a treat. We're going to unpack this fable to see what makes the protagonist, the Wanderer, tick. We'll be looking closely at his intense philosophy of absolute isolation and, frankly, exploring just how terrifying his transformation really is. So let's get into it. We're jumping right into the abyss with these chilling words from the Wanderer. Warmth is a poison. Just pause and think about that for a second. Everything that we normally value, love, community, basic human connection, he literally views as a lethal vulnerability. It immediately begs the question, is his absolute, total self-containment actually a superpower? Has he unlocked a higher state of being, or is this just the ultimate psychological retreat from a world that broke him? All right, part one, the ultimate refusal. What's so brilliant here is how the text completely flips classic heroic tropes on their head. You know the drill. A traditional hero goes on a quest, learns the power of friendship, and builds a community to fight the darkness, right? Well, our anti-hero takes one look at the world's offer of a comforting oasis and dismisses it as a trap for the weak. He has zero interest in building a community. He actively seeks the infinite abyss because he believes it's the only truth that doesn't rot. He literally wants to be a flame that burns without any fuel. This brings us to his core philosophy, absolute self-containment. And here's the kicker. He explicitly says he does not want to be healed because, think about it, healing implies returning to a normal, healthy human baseline. To him, normal human warmth is something designed to rot the iron of his soul. He wants to draw heat exclusively from his own consuming rage. It's a complete and total rejection of the outside world. He's unmasking reality to reveal, well, nothing but the void. Moving right along to part two, Parables of Radical Detachment. The Wanderer is shown 5 distinct visions by the heart of negation. You can basically think of these as a crash course syllabus in classical nihilist literature, but applied as a highly systematic psychological weapon. Each parable is like a surgical strike, designed entirely to sever the Wanderer from his own human frailty. Step by step, he's being taught to completely dismantle his capacity for empathy, trust, mercy, grief, and finally, vulnerability. For the philology nerds out there, let's look at the language he uses. In the parable of the voided pulse, he sees a man whose heart beats for others, and the abyss whispers that to love is to mortgage your peace to the grave. He literally calls love a voluntary infection. He's framing empathy not just as a weakness, but as a dangerous biological flaw that makes you dull and vulnerable to the hammer of existence. To him, relying on human connection is like carrying a shield made of glass into battle. It's guaranteed to shatter. Then we get the parable of the silent sanctuary, which hits on the concept of trust. He looks at a thriving city built on community and just sneers at it. He sees nothing but a collection of crutches for souls who are too cowardly to stand alone. If trust is building a fortress out of dust, as he says, then relying on anyone else is a fatal illusion. The moment the wind blows or the sand shifts, you're buried. So absolute isolation becomes the only armor that a hidden blade can't pierce. Next is the parable of the unyielding edge, where we really see his psychological defenses hardening. He watches a warrior offer mercy to a fallen enemy, and the lesson he internalizes is that mercy is a luxury only the blind can afford. He adopts what he calls the law of subtraction. Basically, extending a forgiving hand is an insult to the universe, and it only invites a heavier blow in return. To survive, you have to chip away everything soft until only the purest, most jagged edges of your power are left. Now, the parable of the petrified tear is just devastating. He sees a child weeping for a lost home, and his reaction? Clinical disgust. For the Wanderer, childhood trauma isn't a wound you nurture or heal. It's a necessary crucible. It's a brutal selection process meant to calcify your soul for greatness. You have to stop weeping for the day that died, let those tears literally turn to salt, and force yourself to smile at the unyielding shape of your own loneliness. Which perfectly sets up part 3, Psychology of the Fortress. This maps out the Wanderer's terrifying evolution from a fragile human into a literal stone divinity. It's the hero's journey completely inverted. He's not coming back with a magical boon to save his village. Instead, he becomes a flame that doesn't even need oxygen. He becomes a missionary of desolation. Finding a home isn't the goal anymore. The goal is to force the entire world to mirror his own desolate heart. Seriously, listen to how extreme his view on vulnerability is. It isn't just a character flaw, it's an anchor tied around your neck while you're drowning. For the Wanderer, rejecting empathy isn't about being evil for the sake of it, it's the ultimate survival strategy. By actively killing his capacity for affection, he thinks he's conquering existence itself. Because if water can't soften you and warmth can't rot you, well, nothing can destroy you, right? And that brings us to the climax. Part 4, the stone divinity. This is where the psychology of negation physically manifests. His philosophy literally rewrites his physiology. His skin turns into this jagged monument of unyielding gray stone. His armor is actually made of his own fused scar tissue, creating this impenetrable shell. Even his voice sounds like grinding stones. It's a complete inversion. All of the profound terror he felt in his past has been weaponized into this grim, horrifying pride. He essentially looks directly at the audience and challenges them to see the end of their illusions. He views regular people as cattle, huddling before a storm. To him, we cling to our humanity like a life raft, but he just sees soft clay waiting to be smashed. Through his radical, absolute isolation, he has evolved past the clay. He has become the hammer itself. The most chilling part of this entire character study is his absolute self-awareness. He knows exactly what he's doing. He doesn't shy away from the darkness. He openly frames his devolution as a deliberate, totally necessary ascension to power. Yes, it's a descent into evil, but to him, it's the required price to shed human frailty. The deep emotional wounds that a normal person might pity, he wears them as the iron crown of his new divinity. In his own eyes, he isn't broken, he's perfected. He has literally become the Iron Fortress, ruling as its undisputed king. And his final intention is incredibly bleak. He's going to walk back into the world, absolutely, but not to save it. He's returning to show everyone what actually remains when the comforting lies of warmth and connection finally burn away. He is the frost that does not apologize. So we have to end this explainer on a really provocative note. We've gone through his intense philosophy, his twisted reframing of love as a sickness, and his deliberate emotional death. But here is the real question for you. In this fable, does his radical detachment actually give him true invincible power? Or, despite the badass iron crown and the scar tissue armor, is his absolute isolation just the ultimate psychological cowardice? Is he just a terrified child hiding inside a desolate tomb, making sure he can never be hurt again? Think about it. Thanks for exploring the abyss with me today, and keep questioning the texts you read. See you next time.